Welcome everyone to our textbook commission meeting. We have some new members, and we typically start with a roll call. So I'm going to call this meeting to order, and we will do our roll call, and then we'll do a short welcome to, well, maybe we'll just start with our welcome to our new commissioners. So Katie, would you like to welcome our new commissioners?
Dr. Farah, here we go. I have a screen.
Okay.
So we have 3 new commissioners. Can you see that, Dr. Moody?
Yep, I can. Yep.
I'm not sure if they're on or not, but that's who we have. I'm not sure how far through the process they are, but they are officially on.
Okay, I'm just looking at a list of our attendees. I guess when we do the roll call, we will see. Not sure I'm seeing them on the list yet, but we will. Oh yeah, it looks like Amy is.
Yes.
Okay. So Megan Kennedy from the Sand Hills, and Amy Marshall from North Central, and Donnell Morris from Southeast. So we are certainly welcome you and glad to have you on board as new commissioners. And just would tell you that we have quite a few new commissioners. So there's a group that we welcomed last time. So I don't know what our numbers look like. Dr. Fair or Katie, one of you might be able to do this more adequately than I do, but probably about half of our commissioners are new and are in their first year. So I think that's a wonderful opportunity for everybody to learn and grow together, as things are obviously changing during this period of time. So with that, I think we're going to do a roll call, Dr. Fair, if that's okay with you.
That works for me. All right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Laura Austin. Commissioner Jody.
Commissioner Austin, present.
Thank you. Commissioner Jody Autry.
Commissioner Autry, present.
Commissioner Kelly Browning.
Commissioner Browning, present.
Commissioner Megan Kennedy. Commissioner William Cheshire.
Commissioner William Cheshire, present.
Commissioner Edward Coggins.
Commissioner Edward Coggins, present.
Commissioner Hannah Cook.
Commissioner Cook, present.
Commissioner Angela Flowers. Commissioner Aubrey Gadet. Commissioner Don Hester.
Commissioner Hester, present.
Commissioner Hannah Jimenez.
Commissioner Jimenez, present.
Commissioner Renee Kimball. Commissioner Kathleen Linker.
Commissioner Linker, present.
Commissioner Amy Marshall.
Commissioner Marshall, present.
Commissioner Susan Mills. Commissioner Lynn Moody.
Commissioner Moody, present.
Commissioner Danielle Morris.
Commissioner Morris, present.
Commissioner Stephen Parker.
Commissioner Parker, present.
Commissioner Michelle Perry. Commissioner Kim Robertson.
Commissioner Robertson, present.
Commissioner Nardi Roughton.
Commissioner Roughton, present.
Commissioner Lindsay Seiss.
Commissioner Seiss, present.
Commissioner Rosalind Yaris. Okay, so according to the count, we have 7.
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, according to the count, we have 17 commissioners present. So,
and it looks like on the listing that Commissioner Mills is present. And I don't know if she might have had an audio and being able to do that. Can you tell if she's present?
I'm showing she's on the logged in as on the panelist, but she has herself mute.
Yeah, okay,
I will see if she will unmute herself.
okay.
Looks like Commissioner Mills is not mute at this time. Miss Commissioner Mills, can you hear us?
Okay, well, maybe she is not on, and if she isn't, she can let us know later. I just noticed that she's always in attendance, and it looks like she's present, so I just wanted to count her if she's there.
Dr. Fairchief indicates that she can hear us. We just can't hear her. So I think we mark her as present.
Okay.
Yeah.
Indicate that in the chat pane. So there's a document.
Okay. I'll text her.
Okay. Great. So we have 18 commissioners present this morning.
Yes, counting.
Great.
Okay. And she
Okay.
had in the chat that she can hear us. But I don't know if you can see it or not. She just put it in.
Okay.
So Commissioner Mills is present.
Then Commissioner Linker, I'm going to turn it back over to you to get us started.
Okay. So the first thing we need to do is if everyone had a chance to look at their best practices for virtual meetings, we're not really going to go into it because I'm sure everyone can read for yourself. But just a point of reminder, like I have it on a sticky note for myself, is when we speak, which I don't think I just now did it. Make sure that you say who you are before you speak, as I should have said Commissioner Linker speaking and then said something so that people know who's talking and on the record, and also the person who's taken the minutes will know who's speaking if we had do that before we actually start speaking. So having said that, I hope everybody's had a chance to look at the minutes. If you haven't, they're also attached in the handouts on the webinar. And I would entertain a motion to approve if there's no questions or comments.
Commissioner Robertson, motion to approve the minutes, please.
Commissioner Robertson made a motion. If I can have a second.
Commissioner Sice, motion to approve the minutes. I second.
Okay, so that's been a second. Dr. Fair, do you want to go through roll call? Because that may be easier than us just announcing ourselves and voting.
Yes, I can. Commissioner Laura Austin.
Commissioner Austin approves.
Commissioner
Autry approves.
Commissioner Kelly Browning.
Commissioner Browning approved.
Commissioner Megan Kennedy. Commissioner William Cheshire. Commissioner Edward Coggins.
Commissioner Coggins approves.
Commissioner Hannah Cook.
Commissioner Cook approves.
Commissioner Angela Flowers. Commissioner Aubrey Gadet. Commissioner Don Hester.
Commissioner Hester approves.
Commissioner Hannah Jimenez,
Commissioner Jimenez approves.
Commissioner Renee Kimball, Commissioner Kathleen Linker,
Commissioner Linker approve.
Commissioner Amy Marshall,
Commissioner Marshall approves.
Commissioner Susan Mills, she approves by chat. Commissioner Lynn Moody,
Commissioner Moody approves.
Commissioner Daniel Morris,
Commissioner Morris approves.
Commissioner Stephen Parker,
Commissioner Parker approves.
Commissioner Michelle Perry, Commissioner Kim Robertson,
Commissioner Robertson approves.
Commissioner Nardi Roughton,
Commissioner Roughton approves.
Commissioner Lindsay Seiss,
Commissioner Seiss approves.
Commissioner Roslyn Yaris,
Commissioner Yaris.
and Commissioner William Cheshire.
Commissioner Cheshire approves. If you can hear me, I also put it in the text.
Yes, I see now. Okay. So that's everyone approved.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Fair. So, the only other thing I was remiss to remind us about virtual meeting practices is that occasionally, like for instance, if we make any kind of motions, that is going to be how we would have to approve. So make sure that you're kind of present so that you know when we're getting ready to do something like that. We don't have anything officially to vote on again until the end. At any time, I will pause for you to make comments or ask questions, and then we also have a space at the end for comments and questions. And we would love to hear your voice. If you have any questions, any comments, anything to add, feel free to chime in, and we will get started. So if you can show us the next slide, Dr. Fair. So first, we're going to talk about just to get us a sense of back to where we are on this timeline, without dates, of course. So just a really quick reminder, since we've met last, given the situation with the coronavirus within the state, we asked the State Board of Education to definitely pause the process until we could get back to some sort of normalcy. So we still don't know a time, a date, but we do know that it will be picked back up at some date. So we're just going to kind of like keep with the process. And so this meeting would be when we would kind of like talk about more like advisors and things and give a little overview of what looks ahead. So we're going to kind of continue with that in general terms. And so I just kind of made a little graphic just to kind of give you an idea, a visual of kind of where we are. When we stopped the process or put it on hold, we stopped it right before the publishers submitted their bids. So we still don't have that information. And so anything doing with advisors is still in that speculation stage. So the first thing on the timeline that we would be doing at this phase is we would be starting to seek out and then work on recommending advisors. And that usually takes about 3 weeks from the time we have the submissions, so we know how many we're actually looking for, till we kind of send out the information and search for potential advisors. And that's the term you'll hear us use until we actually hire them. We consider them potential advisors. And then to the ending part of that, when we actually recommend the advisor. So that's our first work. Once we get back up and going, will be as commission members, we will roll out the seeking, how we seek the advisors, and then recommending advisors. And then it's about the time that they're recommended is also about the time that we'll have the materials submission samples sent to us. Commission members and the Board of Education all get anything that the publisher submits you actually get those samples. And we've talked in the past about sample sites and all of that's also on hold because, or for some of us, because I know Dr. Moody and myself, we use a university or college, and they're also out right now, and we weren't able to really make contact and get a lot of our final plans in place for that. But so the next thing would be the publishers would send us our samples, and that there's a week period, so that's when that's like a little teeny blob. It's about a week. They have roughly a week to get us our samples, a window, and then when we get the samples, we need to check it in to make sure everything's there that they said that they're sending, and if it's not there, then we would let Dr. Fair or procurement know so they could be aware of it. Obviously, if we don't receive it, we can't evaluate it. And you will see the bulk of our time, and it's two fairly equal bars, is evaluating the submission samples, which kind of goes hand in hand with the preparation of the written evaluation of the submissions. And there's really two parts to that. We as commissioners, we start evaluating the submissions when we get them. But the advisor part is just a week, and it is roughly a week in the middle of that 2-month timeline. So about a week in the middle is when we would have our advisors come in and evaluate the submission samples and give us their written reports. So in the meantime, we are also doing our evaluations on the samples that we have at home or wherever we have them delivered. And as we are evaluating the submissions, we can also start preparing our written evaluation, because there's a couple of steps to that, which is another meeting that we would have before now and the time that we start receiving materials. We need to have another meeting to do with how we do what we call the platform for our evaluation, written evaluations. And so that those two tasks, the evaluating of the samples and the actual preparation of what is called the written evaluation, take the bulk of our time, for about 2 months. And at the end of that time period is when we come back together as a commission, and we participate in what is referred to as the oral evaluation of the submission. We call that the deliberation and reconsideration meetings. And that is typically 1 to 2 days. It's 1 day to evaluate. We have our oral discussion and vote.
It's still got stuff in
And
it.
then based on
It has a hole in it.
the recommendations, if someone is not recommended, then the publisher has an opportunity to come back and present to the commission, provide further evidence, and then we would reconsider that submission and re-vote on it. And then the next thing that you see, which is the same little blurb about as the participating in the oral evaluation, is when we file the written evaluation. So this whole time we've been working on this report, as we call it, and all of the details of that come out a little bit later, and it's really easy, so it's nothing really to stress over. And when we leave that deliberation and reconsideration meeting, at the end of that meeting, we electronically submit our written evaluation, which goes into the huge report to the State Board of Education and is also uploaded to the DPI website under the textbook adoption process for the public viewing. And so that, it's a lot in that little slide, but that is our normal timeline. So we will start back with the normal timeline. We can't really start until we have dates, but we know that it is coming, and we need to meet again at least one time before we start back up with the dates to do the platform training and to talk about advisors. And so we'll talk about that again at the end. But if you looking at this slide, is there any questions? I just kind of wanted everybody to have a somewhat sense of the routine, because it will pretty much stay the same whenever we get the dates to start back up. So let me check. I'm checking chats too, because a couple people I think are having some technical difficulties. So I'm just going to kind of keep an eye on the chat box and see if anyone has any questions. But so that's just a quick overview, maybe a little compact. Everything that's in this is in some of the materials you'll find in our folder for the operations manual, but most of it comes from the invitation. Okay, I don't see any questions. So Dr. Fair, if you can switch to, that gets us to the advisor process, which is that first section. So I'll go a little bit more in deep in the advisor process, because that's where we would normally be now. At this point, we would have normally had our submission number, so we would know exactly how many advisors we're looking for. We did in the previous, not the last meeting, the meeting before, I think, hit really quickly on advisors. But the advisor process is basically what's been done to date. We know the courses that are being submitted that we're asking to evaluate. Math is pretty straightforward. CTE is a lot of courses. And I have met with one of the DPI consultants, and he sat down with me and we identified possible areas of overlap within a CTE course. And so I know, like, the minimum number, we want at least 3 advisors for each category. So we'd like to have 3 eyes on each submission. And so I have a rough idea of the minimum number, and that depends on the number of submissions that we actually get. So if we were not to get submissions in some courses, then we might not need as many. And if we get a lot of submissions in some courses, we might need a few more. So that's where the number part is. We have an idea of what we're going to need if we get submissions for the courses that are out there, and what people can do multiple areas in. So that part's already been finished. It's just waiting for the numbers. And because that we are going to be looking for, in most CTE courses, just 3 people, we're going to divide it up. It'll be, I have a rough schedule, be like the odd numbers of districts will take certain courses or certain areas, and then the even numbers will take 4. So that gives us 4 in each. And so we won't all be hiring, for example, someone to evaluate one of the food courses. It would be 4 of the districts would have the food courses, and they would be looking for each district 1 advisor. Is there any questions on what's been done to this point before I go into what happens after this point? I'll give everybody a second to make sure. Any questions? So, Dr. Fair, this may be a good time. If we can take a second, I think I saw Commissioner Flowers on, and she wasn't, or maybe she's listening.
Okay, you want me to do all again?
Yeah, but I don't see her under the panelists, but I thought I saw her, and then but she's having problems. So if you maybe just keep an eye on for her, and if she can hear us, Commissioner Flowers, you can maybe put a chat in the box. And then Commissioner Cheshire also is having some audio problems, and so try to keep an eye on the box for the 2 of those and see if they pop in. Commissioner Mills, I feel like, is still having a little bit of audio issues as well. So I know there's 3 that might be making comments in the box instead of talking.
Commissioner,
I don't know that I would call, because I don't see that she's made a chat, anything in the chat box.
And this is Carmela. I don't see anything in the chat box for Commissioner Flowers, but Commissioner Mills has indicated that she's still having issues.
Okay. I'm going to go and finish this slide, and I'll just kind of keep an eye out to see if anything pops in. So the advisor process from this point forward, basically, once we have the dates, because I have like a rough flyer that I used what Commissioner Flowers actually did last year and updated a little bit, and I need some, I'll get some eyes on it and some other suggestions, but there's a rough flyer that'll be finalized with dates that we'll send out through the various listservs at DPI and through the consultants at DPI. They've already expressed interest in helping us by getting the information out. We also have, I know for the CTE consultants and the math consultants will be willing to help us if we can't find someone who teaches a specific course to help us locate. If I'm in my district, if we can't find someone who teaches a specific course, I could reach out to the DPI consultant and say, I can't find anyone. Do you have any recommendations, or can you send people some information? So that's another way that we can find a potential. We want a large pool of potential advisors from which to pull from, basically. So the information is sent out to the expert teachers across the state. And then the teachers that are interested, there'll be a process where they have to complete an interest form that'll indicate that they are interested, and that form collects information. And then after that point, a database, Dr. Fair makes a database of all those potential advisors from that form, and then she shares that with us, commission members. And so then we have this pool of potential advisors. At that point, each commissioners for each region get together and decide as a team within their district. From that pool, they select the ones that we actually would seek to hire. So I might have, in our district, we might have 20 teachers to apply for Math 1, but we only have one slot for Math 1. So we will identify as a district, we will identify the teacher that our first choice. And then we usually do a second choice because things happen. People have emergencies or things come up after they fill out the interest form. So as a district, everyone will work together as a team and to decide as a group the advisors that will represent their district. The whole idea is that we have a wide variety of teachers representing the entire state of North Carolina. Small districts, large districts, charter schools, all of the various players and stakeholders would be pulled from to come up with our advisors. Having said that, another thing to keep in mind as we are searching for advisors is that if as commissioners, we really we don't need more than one person from a district, from a LEA. And for example, in my district, there's I think 5 commissioners now. So we represent 3 LEAs. There's 2 of us in Rowan Salisbury. There's 2 in Stanley County. There's 1, maybe 2 in Cabarrus County. We all actually happen to join each other, the 3 counties. We would only pick 1 person from Rowan Salisbury because there's actually 8 LEAs within our region. Now your backups could be a little different, but your primary people, you just really want 1 per district. You definitely do not want more than 1 per school. And so making sure that, you know, if there is a large pool, like we hope that there's a large pool, that we're making sure that we're spreading out across the state and even across our districts to get a pretty good equal representation. And so we'll go more into that when we get the actual specifics about the advisors. Just want to kind of give you like a little overview. So then after the commissioners in the district get together, I'm on the fifth bullet. Those selections are due to me by a date that will be determined. And that's when we go through and reach out. Dr. Fair or her designee will contact the pool of potential advisors and let them know that they have or haven't been selected. If we need to go to if someone sends back to Dr. Fair and communicates back, hey, thank you, but I can't do it at this point, then she'll let me know, and then I tell her, you know, to go to the second person on the list. So from the point that I get the recommendations from you guys, after you've made your selections, then it's just the fine tune that goes between myself and Dr. Fair. Once she has let the advisors know that he or she has been selected, that's when we start our Canvas course, which we'll talk about in a minute. There's training that they're involved in, and we've got a lot of that training and front loading we're trying to put into a Canvas course so that the advisors can do that off-site before we get to evaluation week. And then again, the last bullet says that more information will be provided as it's available. So I know that's a lot, and that's probably a lot of information, especially for our newer advisors, but it's really, I promise you, it's not as detailed, as hard as it seems. It's a pretty fine-tuned machine. In the meantime, we just need to wait until we get the actual numbers so we know the actual numbers of who we're looking for. Are there any questions about the advisor process? I feel like I'm a lecturing person who's lecturing a lot, and I personally don't learn very well that way. So if you do have any questions, feel free to ask. If you have any questions after this, you can ask, of course, myself, Dr. Moody, Dr. Fair, or any other commission member, especially ones who've been through the process at least once. We're all really helpful and work together.
This is Commissioner Marshall. I have a quick question, if that's okay.
Sure.
I was just wondering if the teacher interest forms would be posted online on the Textbook Commission website for teachers who might be interested.
Dr. Fair, can you speak to that? I'm not sure we've done it in the past, but I do think that's probably a good idea.
Yes, this is Carmela Fair. In the past, we typically send it out in all the communication, in flyers and listservs and things like that, but it definitely can be posted on the website if that's something that you all want.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Are there any other questions or comments or suggestions? That was a great suggestion, Commissioner Marshall. I can add to this too. Also, as a commission member, for example, we happen to have 2 commission members that are CTE teachers, and I'm not really sure if we have any currently that are math teachers. But I know we have a couple that are high school principals or assistant principals. And so definitely, if you know people or you have a connection in an LEA, you are more than welcome as a commission member to make contact and share the information, the flyers once they come out, and say, you know, hey, normally what we would have a date in mind, and it would be like, hey, this summer we're going to look at evaluating, you know, CTE courses, and would you be interested? Information's going to come later, but this is the week we're looking at. We just don't have those dates to have that kind of a conversation. But when we have those dates, I mean, that's a great opportunity for you to find someone who you maybe have experienced or heard of, or you have a connection in an LEA that might not get the information through one of the other means, by all means, you can share that. If you're a high school principal, you could tell your principals in your LEA at your principals meeting, hey, we're looking for, I know last summer we actually had some difficulty locating, for some reason, EC teachers, because they need to have some experience in with the students that would be in the course, if that makes sense. And so if you have a strong connection in the EC field or the EL field, which are other advisors that we look for, you can say to your EL person at your district office, hey, this is coming up soon when we know the date. Do you have anybody that works at a high school with students that would be in these courses? Because we're also looking for EC and EL teachers to look through the criteria through the eyes of the EC and the EL lens. And so that's another way to widen the pool, is use your connections. We are fortunate that DPI does a lot of the front work. They do send out the flyers through their various organizations and through their consultants. It was not always that way in the past. It fell on the commission members to make the contacts, and especially if you're in a small LEA, it may be your circle, your world might be a lot more limited, as you may not have as much experience as to get out into the other LEAs that make up your district. So, of course, as commission members, you also have the ability and are encouraged to use your connections and your resources and get out that information as well. The richer the pool, the better the selections we pull from. There's a lot of good people doing good work, especially in the field, I feel like, of CTE courses to tap into. Okay, so are there any other questions or comments? Dr. Fair, I'm going to give it a second because Commissioner Flowers has indicated that she logged out and she's going to log back in. So I'm just trying to keep an eye to see if she pops in, because if she does, you might want to do a really quick roll call, or just to have her say that she's here. How would you want to handle that?
Commissioner Linker, I would say, since we have such a high percentage of commissioners in the meeting, we just go ahead and move ahead.
Okay. All right, so Dr. Fair, if you can go to the next slide. So this is just a brief overview and on the subcommittee. We have met since the last time we met as a commission, just to give you just a little quick overview of where we are and what that looks like. And the subcommittee members are Commissioner Flowers, Commissioner Seiss, Commissioner Jimenez, and Commissioner Cheshire. So if you guys want to add to anything, I'm just going to give just a little overview of where we are. Feel free to jump in. Dr. Fair, if you can go to the next slide. So we've talked a little bit last time about, we have made 2 Canvas courses. We've made one for textbook commission members. We've made one, as I alluded to earlier, for the evaluation for the advisors that'll have the training. We are taking this opportunity to actually add a little more to it than originally planned. When we originally rolled out the idea of the Canvas courses, for commission members, it was just more of a central location to go and find things, and then we would add information as we got into the different areas of the process. But now that we've been given a little more time, as our timeline's been expanded, we're actually gonna to add a little more to it and make the textbook commission Canvas course more of a training opportunity where you'll get to go on and actually look at the material and then indicate, that you saw it, you have any questions. This is a good time for us to give some input and, the clarity of it. Should we make any changes in the future to things that we can change, or recommendations for changes to things that we can change? There are a lot of things within the realm of the commission that is dictated by statutes, and so that's a little more of a process than just saying to Dr. Fair, hey, we would like to revise this. It has to go through a lot more channels. But just to kind of look at what the different components are, how it flows as we get through the process. So we're going to add a little more to the evaluation training for the textbook commissioners. The course for advisors is still a work in progress. We're making some quizzes because we want it to be a little more interactive. For advisors, they would get CEU credits upon completion, and it would be a prerequisite to evaluation week. So there are some things that they would need to do before they come and attend the evaluation meeting of that week. So that's also work in progress. So we've added a little bit more to our timeline, which I'm getting ready to pull up. So we meet again as a subcommittee on April the 30th. At that point, we're going to have a couple of people hop on and do like a peer review. So be looking for, it's just going to be random. We're just going to have some commission members just kind of like give us their opinion of, does it flow? Does it make sense to you? Do we need to change anything? And with our idea of rolling it out to the commission on the 14th of May. We purposely chose that date because most schools will be getting ready to go back possibly at that date. And if we know that after that date, things are going to be very crazy, at least through the rest of the school year. And that, of course, is if we go back to school on the date in May. So that's kind of where we are now, is beefing it up. We're going to do a quick little 2 or 3 peer review, come back as a subcommittee on the 5th of May, make any tweaks and final changes, and then release it out for everybody to see. We did add the parents to Canvas accounts, and I'm not sure if I know one of the current new members is in the education, but if there's any others that are parents only without and are not in the education system, meaning that they wouldn't have access to DPI's Canvas course, they would be added as well. So we have already had that process. Commissioner Cheshire has already been able to get into the Canvas course, and we will get the login information out to the other 2 parents soon so that you also can see if you can log in. You might know what Canvas looks like from a parent's view, and you might not. Not all LEAs use Canvas as a learning management system. So that's kind of where we are as the subcommittee. And then because we have time, we had a goal. When we formed the committee, it was to do a couple of things. There were some things that we felt like we could accomplish in what was the original timeline, and that being the training modules and finding a place to house it. We also had the idea of having publishers provide us with digital material or ways to navigate their online resources, and that was already taken care of and is in the invitation and was explained to the publishers. And then we've got our Canvas courses to house training and all materials, and to try to work in some front loading before we actually show up for evaluation week. So that's almost finished. And the third thing that we were going to look at, but was going to be more of a long-term goal that we're going to probably start sooner, is the whole evaluation process on the advisor end and how to modernize that in a manageable, meaningful way. And so when we meet next time as a commission, we should have be about ready to start that phase. Is there any comments, questions? Okay, that when we do, after we meet, after we have another meeting, which we will discuss in a little bit, there will be opportunity. I'm thinking that you guys know, but in case you don't, when we meet the subcommittee, it is a public hearing, and you guys are more than welcome to jump in and listen, if you're interested. And so when we have our meetings, they are published, especially when we get into the idea, the discussion of the modernization, the next step. So if there aren't any questions, and I don't see any, Dr. Fair, I think you can probably go to the next slides. Oh, which gets to questions and comments. I know that I've given a lot of information, and done a lot of talking. Is there anything that you want to talk more about, that as a commission you have comments, you have concerns, you have questions?
Hi, this is Commissioner Roughton, and I do have a question, and it's probably can't be answered as of this time because of not really knowing when all this is going to happen. But that week of the evaluation, when it's scheduled in, I think June or July, I can't remember. Is there a chance that that might happen during the school year in the fall, or is it too soon to even anticipate when that would be?
Dr. Moody, I'm not sure if you have any information on your end. I think it was.
I don't really. Yeah, I don't think we really know for sure. I guess it is possible. I think it's possible.
I will say that we talked about ideas that we don't feasibly see it occurring before the end of October. That if everything's back up and running and everybody has to get their year up and going, and it's going to be a very unusual start to a school year. If everyone's up and going at the beginning of the school year, then it's really hard to pull anybody out of their school. Commission members, you're talking about a couple times for a couple days, but advisors, you're talking about for a week. And so we had talked about we really didn't think it would be feasible to even consider it before possibly the end of October, not wanting to get into exam time. For our district, we are on a earlier schedule, and we have exams at Christmas. So, trying to stay away from the holidays, and then you've got, January, and that brings new semesters, because a lot of these are high school courses. So that brings new semesters with new students. And so again, you wouldn't want to pull advisors out of the classroom the first, 2 to 3 weeks. So it's really, no, we can't say it won't happen, but we do know there are specific times that we aren't recommending it happen. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
In the past, we actually did. One year we did ELA in March, and we did have considerable problem finding advisors because it meant taking them a week from school. And if you're employed through the school system, you don't get that pay. You don't get paid for being an advisor unless you take a leave of absence without pay from your school for the week to do the advisor. So it really gets a little tricky to do it during the school year, to be honest. Yeah. But I would say it's definitely not happened this summer. And the earliest I could see it happening would be the end of October, and that's a stretch. Does anybody else have any questions?
Well, Commissioner Linker, I think you did a great job of walking us through everything, and I certainly want to encourage the commissioners, as you have questions, you don't have to wait to put it in a chat box or here, just, feel free, as she said earlier, just to reach out to any of us, and we'll continue to walk through it. Like everything in our educational world right now, or in our world period, I think things are going to look different. And again, I think having new commissioners is going to help us look at our processes in a new light during a time when we probably should be looking at things differently. And so I encourage you all to participate fully. Don't step back and wait for a learning curve, because where we might get the best help is when you just go ahead and step up. So thank you for the questions today. And I know that this is not a fun way to do a meeting. I'm a little tired of them. I imagine most of you are too. And certainly not a great way, the best way to be able to relay information. And it does matter. The commissioners really are you'll become a tight team, and your body language and your connections with each other. I was just smiling when we did roll call, because knowing many of you, it was just nice to hear your voice this morning. And so I look forward to a time when we will all be back in the same room together, so that information like this might come a little easier for all of us. But Commissioner Linker, as always, I thought you did an excellent job of walking us through it. Do you or Dr. Fair have anything else to add that you think we need to do today before we adjourn this meeting?
The only thing is just a reminder or a note that we will need to have another meeting. I'm not sure about the when. It depends on so much. But when we get information enough that we're ready to have a meeting that makes it worth your while to take your time to have a meeting, we'll definitely have Dr. Fair send a Google poll to get input of what works, knowing that everybody's going to be all over the place. But we will definitely need at least to have a short meeting when we get ready to roll out the Canvas courses, if nothing else, to kind of let you know how to, is there any question kind of thing, like a quick meeting. Until then, we don't really have anything to specifically talk on until we have dates and an idea of what's happening, unless we do some check-ins and on the modernization conversations that we're going to start having, just to make sure everybody's like in the loop as we go through that as well. So there will be another meeting. I'm just not really sure when, depending again on the dates and the situation. But most definitely Dr. Fair will send a doodle poll or a way to communicate to get your preferences so that we can try to accommodate as many people as possible. But again, we really don't want to take your time if we don't have something worthy of taking your time for, if that makes sense. So other than that, that's all I had, Dr. Moody, was just to make sure I mentioned that.
Great. Dr. Fair, anything you want to add? Any closing comments?
No, ma'am, I don't have anything.
Okay, great. Well, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Commissioner Coggins motions to adjourn.
Thank you, Commissioner Coggins. Do I have a second?
Commissioner Sykes, motion second.
Thank you, Commissioner Sykes. I have a motion and a second. All those approve, say aye. Or
Would you like for me to call?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, we probably have to do the roll call.
Yeah.
okay, sorry. Yeah, okay.
But no, we have to do the
Dr. Fair,
aye with just.
roll call?
No problem. Okay. Commissioner Laura Austin,
Commissioner Austin approves.
Commissioner Jody Autry,
Commissioner Autry approves.
Commissioner Kelly Browning,
Commissioner Browning approves.
Commissioner Megan Kennedy, Commissioner William Cheshire,
Commissioner Cheshire approves.
Commissioner Edward Coggins,
Commissioner Coggins approves.
Commissioner Hannah Cook,
Commissioner Cook approves.
Commissioner Angela Flowers, Commissioner Audrey Gadet, Commissioner Don Hester,
Commissioner Hester approves.
Commissioner Hannah Jimenez,
Commissioner Jimenez approves.
Commissioner Renee Kimball, Commissioner Kathleen Linker,
Commissioner Linker approves.
Commissioner Amy Marshall,
Commissioner Marshall approves.
Commissioner Susan Mills has indicated in the chat that she approves. Commissioner Lynn Moody,
Commissioner Moody approves.
Commissioner Danielle Morris,
Commissioner Morris approves.
Commissioner Stephen Parker,
Parker approves.
Commissioner Michelle Perry, Commissioner Kim Robertson,
Commissioner Robertson approves.
Commissioner Nardi Roughton,
Commissioner Roughton approves.
Commissioner Lindsay Seiss,
Commissioner Sykes approves.
Commissioner Rosalind Yaris.
Commissioner Yaris approves.
Okay, so we have approval from everyone for the adjournment.
Okay, well, with that, we will sign off and we look forward to talking to you again soon. We'll keep in touch with you. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, everyone.